Welcome. So today we're going to talk about how to use Gemini in your Google Classroom. Now I have Jennifer and Arlen. Do you want to introduce yourselves and tell a little bit about yourselves?
Sure, I will
Jen.
start. Hi, I'm Jennifer Chamberlain. I am from Elk County, Pennsylvania. I am a Spanish teacher, an instructional coach, an instructional technology specialist, working with mainly middle school and high school.
I'm Arlen Roth. I'm the instructional technology specialist for Bellefonte Area School District, and I get to work in 4 elementary schools, a middle school, and a high school.
And I'm Judy Keller, and I work for Penn Manor School District in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where I am a technology training specialist. So let's get started. Arlen, you want to take this one?
Sure. If you're not familiar with what a GEG is, it is a Google Educator group. It's an informal group that Google provides some guidance to us and some resources, but it's just a friendly group of educators that use Google tools. And you can find us on our website at GEG Pennsylvania, which we'll be sharing these if they can click the links, right? So for now, you have the QR code. But yeah, when we share the slides, you can click the link and go to our site and just see what we're all about. We have an email group that we use for discussions and updates and questions about things and sharing resources. And then we also started getting more involved with some live training events, which you are watching right now. This one's me, right?
Yep.
Okay. I was like, oh, yeah, I did put that in there. So we're going to talk a lot about gems and Gemini. And one of the things that you need to know up front, check to see if this works for your school account, and also have a student check it, or if you have access to a demo student account, because whoever your Google administrators are in the Google admin console, there are settings that Gemini can be turned on or off for different groups. So just because it works for you, make sure you know if it works for students or not before you try to share a gem with them. The other thing that I tested out today with my student account, our district uses GoGuardian, and if GoGuardian is set to block AI tools, it blocks Gemini. So, look at the resources, see if you have something good. But as always with new technology, before you're ready to stand in front of your class and tell everyone to click it and try it out, test it out or check with the people that manage your Google domain and your internet filter to make sure that everything is going to work as expected.
Okay, so I'm going to start for brand new users. My biggest piece of advice as an instructional coach is to get into whatever app is the new app that you want to explore and click all of the buttons. And for us busy educators, moms, coaches, teachers taking grad classes, it's the last thing you want to do is be in your classroom at 7:00 at night exploring an app. But what you do have as you're picking up your children or you're waiting in the grocery store line is that you do have your cell phone. And so in order to become familiar, I highly recommend that you get the Gemini app in the App Store or the Google Play Store. Get it on your phone so that when you are relaxed on the weekends or have some free time, again, waiting for your children to finish football practice, and that you can get in there and play around and see the power of AI with Gemini. With teacher-facing AI and even just personal AI to get yourself familiar so that when you get into some of the bigger things we're going to show you later, you're already familiar with the platform. So as I went in and clicked, again, go to either the Google Play or App Store. As I went in to click all the buttons, this is a screenshot of my phone. It says, "Hello, Jennifer." Now, this is my school account at the top, but I could also change it to my personal account. If you're in a situation like Arlen mentioned, that your school district does not have it turned on for teachers, you can do it with a personal Gmail account, and it also works. But click every single button. So if you click that plus sign, this is where you're going to have the most fun because you can click the camera and the gallery and you can modify pictures. So the other night I was sitting at the dinner table and I took a picture of my window. And this is how I was kind of getting my contractor husband to buy into AI as well. I said, hey, Jeff, wonder if your customer wanted to know what this window would look like as a bay window. And I was sitting, as I was eating, I took a picture of that window, and then it gave me what my window would look like as a bay window. And I thought it did a really good job. And I think he was a little intrigued. I might use it with future customers. And then, of course, I had to show a picture of my dog in her Halloween costume and ask it to give it a Halloween background. So that worked out really well. And I continued to play around with other Halloween costumes. So there she is on an island in Hawaii. And then if you go past the plus button, you're going to get a list of other options, such as guided learning. And so if you click on that first menu option, again, this is next to the plus sign, guided learning, you can ask it to teach you something. So I'm currently working on some computer science classes, and I was asking it about loops and if-then statements, things like that. And it was teaching me about different computer coding concepts, computer programming concepts. And what was really nice is it was asking me questions. It was trying to teach me. It truly is guided learning. So ask it to teach you something, again, in your free time. And then there's a button that you can fact check things. So you're able to see how that operates in the highlighting, and it shows you where the sources came from, if it's able to find it. And then if you go down to create an image, you can tell it to create something. And again, with all AI, you have to watch. If you look closely, we're reading a story called Eddie el Elefante, which we always start the year off with. And I asked it to put the monkey into the hole, and the monkey needed to speak Spanish. That's half jumbled Spanish and half jumbled English. So you have to continue to edit and rework. But again, it's something super fun to play with on your phone as you are having free time here. And let's see. So now the next one is deep research. And this one, I just asked it about the history of Puerto Rico as a U.S. territory. And it gives me some information. And then it's like, how would you like this outline into a report? And then it turns it into this beautiful report that you can use for yourself or your class. And then again, you can fact check that. And in Canvas, this is where you're asking it to design emails to parents. Maybe you have conferences coming up and you want to invite parents to come in. Maybe you want to reach out to parents about missing assignments. And so I love to, and I can't say this enough, click the microphone and just talk to the AI, talk to Gemini. You don't have to worry about punctuation. You can ramble. It will understand you. So you can just click the button in your car and ramble off about how you're going to need an email to parents, inviting them to parent-teacher conferences, and how to reach you to schedule an appointment. And then it will draft something for you. And again, you can hit the microphone and ask it to do some edits too. If you're somebody that has trouble typing, I know I do on a phone. So leveraging that microphone is really great. And we won't get into the live because that's a whole other beast, which is also super fun, even in your car when you have the Bluetooth on, which Judy knows. So, and what's great about all this practice and all this play is that, so you've done this on your phone, and then when you get to school, it will be there when you go to your Gemini account. As long as you're in the same account, you go over to the side, and all of those chats, all of those searches, all of those deep research and guided learning and images are all here for you. So if you were creating some images that you wanted to use in your class, you can create them on your phone again in the evenings on your couch. And then when you get to school, they'll be there for you. So again, I just encourage play, 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 play. And the best place is with something that you have handy, and that's your phone.
So if you haven't looked at the Gemini side panel in Google Classroom, you need to check that out. It should pop up when you open Classroom, but there's a link when it comes up that says, hey, here are all the things you can do. These are all of the things that are available in Google Classroom, and they all can be done with Gemini. Some of them will open up in Gemini in a separate window. Some of them are right in Classroom. And tonight we're going to talk about gems. Maybe later we will talk about Notebook LM, but those things all are accessible to you right inside Google Classroom. So from the list of available tools, the first tab shows all of them, and I didn't click the show more, but you can look over this and think, okay, which ones am I interested in? The ones with the diamonds, they open in a new window, they open in Gemini. The ones without a diamond, like generate a quiz, all of that work is done right in Classroom. So you can see these are ones that are available for planning, and you can look across the top and see all the other categories that are available. I will click through them pretty fast. I expect to see this list to grow. I mean, this seems like an area where Google has put a lot of resources. You can see your choices for assessments, and we're going to do an example of a rubric. So Jennifer, this was your rubric, right?
Absolutely. So I love a rubric, and I love Google Classroom rubrics. And if anybody wants to sit down with me and talk about Google Classroom rubrics and using them for all of your grading, I'm your girl. So I did a new portion of an assessment recently, and I hit the create a rubric because I didn't have any way to score it. And I went ahead and filled out this form and put in just some descriptions. I uploaded what the students would be looking at as they were doing this listening assessment, and I asked it to generate some criteria for me. And from there, you were able to edit this criteria. So it gave me, when it says criteria, when you think of a rubric, these are the different criterion that'll be listed on the side. Like at the top, you would typically see a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then along the side, you're going to see if it was like spelling, punctuation, things like that. So based on my description, it said, it wanted to do listening comprehension keywords, details, grammar structure, comprehensibility, and advanced vocabulary. And then I actually went in and said, no, I don't want a couple of those. I just really want these main two. So you can go ahead and delete them and regenerate the criteria or edit it, and then you hit generate rubric afterwards. So you set up what your criteria will be, and then you hit generate rubric. Now it goes to Google Sheets. Do not panic. I know there are some spreadsheet phobic teachers out there. Do not be afraid of a spreadsheet, especially if it has words in it. It's just like a table. You can handle it. So you get into the Google spreadsheet, and you can edit this even further. So as you can imagine, it didn't say holy guacamole for the top one. I say that whenever the kid is like, perfect, that's my 100. I do holy guacamole, and I added some criteria on there. So you can do any kind of adjustments once you're in here. Then you are going to just hold that tab, and you're going to go ahead and go into Google Classroom, find your assignment, which this was their assessment, and I hit add a rubric, and then I import from Sheets. And so then it imports it from Sheets. Now, the first time I did it, it didn't have the use scoring that you see over there toggled on. It was toggled off, so I didn't have anywhere to put some points. So I hit use scoring. And then I was able to add my points right here. You can also add them into the spreadsheet, but sometimes this is a little more friendly for those of us that get a little fearful when we're into spreadsheets, and that's okay. And then you get to grade this way, and it's so amazing because I'm going to get on a soapbox about rubrics. So when you are doing your rubrics, traditionally there's a 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. But here you can make each criterion out of however many points you want them to be. So you can, if there's a topic, I'm going to use something very generic. So if you want the grammar of this essay, if it were an essay, to be 10 points, and you wanted the content to be 20 points, and the title, because sometimes the title ends up being as many points as the content, just because we do a 4, 3, 2, 1, and everything has to be the same. And that drives me bonkers. So if you can go ahead and change the criterion and weigh that based on what you're assessing, that's fabulous. And Google Classroom will do all the math for you. And I would ask you then to consider your 4, 3, 2, 1 to actually think about it in letter grades. Like, well, a perfect would be 100. So if this is a 10-point criterion, that's going to be a 10 out of 10. But I also want to be able to give students an A. So depending on your grading scale, whether you do a 90 for an A or we do a 94 for an A, you can assign that as 9.6. And then the B can be 8.8 because, a 3 out of 4 is already a 75. And if you're doing it out of 5, a 4 out of 5 is an 80. So you're either perfect or an 80, or perfect or a 75. And I think that isn't giving the best feedback to our learners. I think we can do better. So really consider, from my instructional coach perspective and soapbox, consider the points you use. And Google Classroom makes it so easy because you just click those and it does the math for you. And so even after you put these numbers in, you can make this assignment out of 100 points, and it will adjust the math accordingly. Even if you do each criterion out of 10, 5, it will do the ratios for you, and it's beautiful. And I think your kids will benefit and really get some more solid feedback if you have to transition these 4 3 2 1s or these rubric grades into traditional percentage based grades. So leverage the Gemini to make it, and it's 2 steps to get it into your classroom, and it's beautiful.
So are you building the choice board, Jen?
I did not. I think that's Arlen.
Arlen.
This was one that I'd put in, and I picked something that I knew that 4th grade teachers taught so that they could tell me if it was good or not. So for this one, instead of giving it a really detailed prompt for the topic, I was very basic. I just said electricity and circuits 4th grade. And this is what it gave me. It gave me learning objectives, which I know enough about science to know that those are good. And then the next thing that it gave me was, sorry, I skipped over it. There we go. The choice board. So this was one that I had a couple of teachers look at, and they looked at these activities and they said, yeah, this looks reasonable. For 4th graders, I would always see them do the activity where they have the batteries and the wires and they have to make the light bulb turn on, which is very exciting and fun. But there are other things to do too. So the way this would work as a teacher, you could tell the students they need to complete 2 of these, or maybe they need to complete 3 of these. And some choice boards are like tic-tac-toe and they need to make 3 in a row. But that's just one more tool that's available. And this is one that, because it's built right into Classroom, if you like what you get out of it, it has an add to class button. So when you click the add to class button with any of the Gemini tools in Classroom, it goes right into the process of building an assignment for your students, which save you some clicks and keeps everything embedded nicely.
Oh my gosh. And then you could do a rubric for your choice board.
You could do a rubric for the choice board, and that could be one that you could reuse many times or tweak it for what you want. Releveling text is something that pretty much everybody needs to do at one time or another. And you could use the tool right in Classroom, or if you make your own gem, which is your customized Gemini, like your Gemini chatbot, you could make it a lot more specific, and you could even make it not for just a grade level, but you could specify even more detailed criteria, or you could make several of them that you would use with different students that are at different reading levels. So that's one that with generative AI, releveling text is a pretty easy task. So this is what I put in, this is what it came out, and it even tells me where it made the changes. There is a setting that if I wanted to make sure it included specific keywords, I could do that, but it did include all the important keywords that you would need to know if you were learning about photosynthesis.
And can I pause you for a second?
Yes.
I think one thing, and I'm not sure who's in our audience, who's listening or who will be listening, but maybe you're sitting here and you're not using Google Classroom and you have a different LMS. It's important to know that you can still go to classroom.google.com and leverage all of the resources that we're talking about today. If you're not going to put that rubric into Google Classroom, or if you're not going to put that choice board into Google Classroom, you still can export it in whatever fashion you want to, print it out or screenshot it or put it in as a link into Canvas or Schoology or whatever LMS you use, or even if it's just paper, you can print it out.
We're back to Spanish, so this one's yours.
Oh, okay. So write a story. So I teach proficiency-based learning, which means whole language learning and comprehensible input. So I need a lot of versions of stories. We do a lot of storytelling. And right now we're using a story, if there's any language teachers out there, from senorwooly.com, called Puedo ir al baño. And it's about a student going to the bathroom, wanting to go to the bathroom in class, and the teacher won't allow him to go. So one of our strategies is using a parallel story. And so I wanted it to write me a parallel story about a student that needs to go to the office or needs to get a drink. And it did a very good job in Google Classroom of creating me this parallel story. And I was able to tell it a little bit about what language. I think down at the bottom, you're able to put some words that you want to make sure the story includes. So it is bilingual and will produce you leveled stories, creative stories that can be used based off of conversations you have with kids. So I plan on in the future having them brainstorm and give me some ideas for a story, and then they'll be more invested into the stories that we talk about and use for our language learning. I took it a step further and got out of Google Classroom a little bit and went back into Gemini, the app on the web. And I was exploring gems, which we'll talk about gems later, I know, but it went with my story. So I took my story that I got and I was like, well, this would look better if it was in a storybook. And so I had the storybook gem, which again, we'll talk more about gems, but this is already a made gem that I put in the topic about this parallel story about a student. And it gave me a storybook. And it's not perfect, and I'm still working on some edits. But you can see it has the pictures in there. And then I thought this was going to be a GIF. It was going to show you, it flips the pages for you and has the text. So I'm excited to have the kids read that because one, the language. And so they'll be able to have that parallel text with images. But two, because AI images aren't perfect. So some of the facial reactions or things in the story aren't pairing up. And so, it'll say, well, this girl, Anna, is frustrated, but she's sitting there with a smile on her face. So I'm excited to have the kids go ahead and compare that and say, what should we tell Gemini to do to improve the drawing in the storybook?
And I want to interject here because I have a really good story about the storybooks. I think I was telling you guys the other day that I have a librarian who has a student that comes into the library who is autistic. And that student asks to read specific books about specific things. So, for instance, this student wanted to read a book about anchors. Well, she didn't have a book about anchors, so she created a book about anchors, printed it out, and sent it home with him to read. And he reads it over and over, and then he comes back in and has another book that he would like to read, and she recreates books for him. And I think that is amazing.
It's beautiful.
So speaking of gems, nope, we're good.
Okay.
So some people are more familiar with ChatGPT or maybe use that first. So if you make a personalized ChatGPT, that's really what gems are. They're a personalized Gemini. So you can see it, very specific version of Gemini that's made to do a specific thing. And the examples that we showed you in classroom were some of those. So it's pretty neat what you can do with those. I'm going to let this one. Yeah, I was looking to see if that little animation was going to run. So what it will do, it's popping up some of the examples of the pre-made gems. So when you go to find your gems in Gemini, there are about a dozen or 20 that are pre-made, and you can use those, or you can get ideas from those to make your own.
Okay, so this is me. So why create a custom Google Gem? So for your classroom, you can differentiate and personalize student support. You can streamline administrative and planning tasks. You can create unique curriculum-aligned learning experiences, targeting and remediating specific misconceptions, and enhance creativity and idea generation. So those are all reasons that you would want to maybe use a gem in your classroom, but there's a lot more. These are just basic ones that you could use. So you can access the gem creation tool. So you would just go to gemini.google.com, and then in the left-hand navigational panel, you're going to look for gems. So like you see over on the left-hand side in that image where it says explore gems, you're going to click on that to explore gems. And then on this picture to the right, you're going to see where you can create a new gem. So you're going to see the pre-made gems at the top, and then you'll see new gem. And then you see where it says my gem. My gems are actually listed below there. So next you're going to define and instruct your gem. So you're going to name it, you're going to give it a name, you're going to give it a description. That's optional, but it's helpful. And then you're going to put the instructions in there. So we're going to write the full detailed prompt using the road structure. I'll show you that in a minute, that you design. And then at the bottom, also optional, is knowledge. So you can add files to your gem for reference. So if you have a worksheet or you have a rubric, hey, you can put that in there. So now your gem will relate to that as part of its knowledge when it's creating. So now here's the roads framework. So your components would be role, objective, action, defaults, and sources. And so you're going to see this. So like you have a description. So you want to, for the role, that would be the persona and the expertise of the gem. And so examples are on the right. So I'm not going to go into that all the way because you're going to get the slide deck later. And I also have a document that has all this in it as well. And then you're going to, once you have it created, you're going to test it and you're going to refine it. So on the right-hand side of the screen is a preview window once you create the gem. And then you'll enter a test prompt just to see how your gem responds based on the instructions that you gave it. And then you can review the output. So if it doesn't follow everything you want, you're going to go back and you're going to edit the instructions in this second step until your gem behaves exactly like you want it to. Once you're satisfied with the preview, you're going to click the save button and you're going to save that gem. And now your new gem is going to appear at the bottom where I said before, where my gems are. So those gems are created and then I can use them and I can share them out with others as well. And on this slide at the top is that step-by-step document that I was telling you about that has the additional things in it. I'm going to show you this quick video on how to create a gem, and it's not going to work. Let's see. Give me a second.
Yeah, it appears that our slides are static for some reason.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, so let me take that off. And I am going to share my screen.
And while Judy's preparing that, I can talk to you about my favorite gem that I've created. I created my own instructional coach because if I'm the instructional coach, who's my instructional coach? So I created one for my Spanish teacher. It's my Spanish teacher instructional coach. And I asked it the other day about, years ago we used to do popcorn reading. And I know that that is a strategy that's become obsolete. You know that I'm teaching, these stories. What are my other options? And it actually coaches me in Spanish, which I love. And it gave me a whole bunch of other options. So I have my own Spanish instructional coach, which is wonderful.
Okay, so we're going to try this again. Let's do it from here. Let's create a custom gem. First step is to go to the 3 lines for the menu at the top, go to Explore Gems, and then let's click on New Gem. Now for this, we're going to create a gem called Taboo. This is a prompt that is provided by Eric Kurtz. So we're going to go ahead and paste the instructions in here. I could add a description at the top, and I can also add resources down below. I'm going to click on the rewrite instructions and use Gemini to help me rewrite these instructions. Now, once I'm ready to go, all I need to do is save my gem. So now my gem has been saved and I'm ready to start a chat. Now I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I need to provide the topic I want to use and the grade level for the students.
Now, here's my clue, so I can work on this clue with my class as a whole. And then simply provide an answer and check if it's right. And then we can continue to play on with this game. So to begin, to edit, you can go up and hover over the new chat, go down to Explore Gems, and then find the gem that you want to either edit or share. So let's talk about sharing. You can click on the share button, and then it will be able to give you a link that you can share with others. So you can share the link with them and they can use your gem. Now, if I want to edit, I can click on the pencil to edit. And then I can come in and I can tweak my instructions. And then once I'm done, all I need to do is click update. And now that I've edited my gem, I can go ahead and interact with it again. So I can simply go back, go to my gems, click on my gem that I want to use, and then begin to interact with it.
So now we'll talk about assigning a gem in Google Classroom. So now you can assign gems in Google Classroom. So when you go to click Create, you'll see down at the bottom, you can assign a gem. You'll also see Notebook LM there, but we're not including Notebook LM today because there's a lot to talk about with gems. And once you go to add a gem, you're going to see over to the right here that you can now get started with a template. So you could do a study partner, a quiz me, a brainstorm partner, or a real world connector. And you could create from a template, or you could use an existing gem. So here I'm going to go ahead and use an existing gem in my Google Classroom. So again, I'm going to select the existing gem. So we're in the top picture. I'm going to select existing, and then you're going to have a drop-down arrow, and that's going to show all the gems that you have personally created. And so here for step 2, I am selecting my 2 truths and a lie gem. And then for number 3, I just attach the gem. Now you're also going to see once it goes into the actual assignment, you can put a description in there where you might give instructions to your students. And then number 5 is actually pretty cool. It is highlight at the top of the class, and that checkbox is checked by default. So what does that look like? So what that looks like here on the left-hand side is the teacher view, and on the right-hand side is the student view. So that class learning tool shows up at the top. And so here in this particular one, I have an interview gem that's assigned to the student, and then they are going to interview a historical character. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a live demo on how to create some review games. So let me get that up on the screen here for you. Okay, so we are now in Gemini, and something to note, when you are in a school account, you always have a shield here, and what that means is what you're putting in here is protected. That information is not going out to train the model. That is used and protected within your district. So that's important to know also here on your app when you're using the app. You wouldn't want to put any confidential information in on your personal side. So now we're going to go to the tools here, and we're going to use Canvas. And I want to build a game. So let's build a game. Well, I don't know. There's some suggestions here. I never saw these before. Why don't we try no, I'm going to build a game. Build a game show type game about honeybees for third grade. With 2 teams. Let's see. Give them 3 choices for answers. Let them try again once, one time. If they are wrong, and provide confetti when they answer correctly. All right, here we go. Let's just give it a whirl. So it takes a little bit to process, and we are actually going to code this. So, and you can see what it's thinking as it goes. If you actually want to see what they're thinking as they go through everything, it will show here. And so now here is the generating the code, and it's going to keep going until it's done. So it's still spinning. I can code, but not this fast. So don't be, and like people are afraid of spreadsheets, don't be afraid of the code, because there's an easy way to handle this. Have you used this, Arlen or Jen?
Just played around, but I haven't full blown used it in the classroom yet.
No, I have not experimented with that yet.
Okay, so here we go. Here is our preview. So it shows us our preview, and we have Team Honeycomb and Team Honeybees. So you can split your class in half, and let's just go ahead and answer a question. Let's say, take a guess, Arlen. How many legs does a
6.
honey have?
Go for the
6?
confetti.
Woohoo! There's
Yes,
confetti.
yes.
Oh, and look at the colors. It's great. It even matches your background, Arlen.
I like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's right. So now we're going to go to the next question, and then this would be Team Honeybee's turn. So it shows that up here. And what fuzzy yellow and black powder do bees carry from the flower to flower, Jen?
I'm going to intentionally get it wrong so that we can see. Go ahead and pick sugar.
Oh, not quite. You can try
That's a
again.
tricky decoy answer.
And I will pick pollen as my try again.
And there we go. All right. So we can go through the whole game and make sure that it's what we want. But okay, let's say that this is what I want. Okay. Now I want to put this somewhere so that my students can play it. So I'm going to click the share button, and then I'm going to click copy contents. Now, any of the code that is made in Gemini is HTML code. So I am going to go to this new tab, and I'm going to create a Google site. So I'm going to go to sites.new. Did you know that's a shortcut where you can open up a new Google site with sites.new? You can do docs.new, you can do sheets.new, all those things. So you can do that right from this Omni box at the top. So I'm going to click sites.new, and it is going to create a new Google site for me. Now, off to the left, you have an embed button here. You could click that, or if you didn't know, you can double click in the middle of the site, and this little circle pops up. So either way, I'm going to select embed here, or I'm going to select it up here. So let's just use this one here. And now I'm not going to embed by URL. I'm going to embed by code. And so it's copied all that code for me. And now I'm just going to paste it here. And now all my code's there. I'm going to hit next. It's going to show my game, and I'm going to insert that game. So now I can make this game fit within my site, and then I can publish it to my site. And then this could be something that I make pages for specific things. So I could make a page for science. I could make a page for math of games that I create as I go. And then students can go here to basically prepare for tests by playing games that you've created. So that is my little live demo. My teachers love this and are using it, and they're collaborating with each other. They're grade level partners, and it's turned out to be a really great tool. So I actually am a beekeeper. So I actually did this honeybee, not this particular game, but I did a honeybee game show with a class, 2 classes of students that I was talking to about bees. And I told them at the beginning when I was presenting about the bees, I said, oh, by the way, at the end, we're going to have a game where your one class is going to play against the other class to see who got all the answers right and understood everything that I was talking about in my presentation. So they were pretty darn good when it came down to it.
That's wonderful,
So,
Judy. I can't help but think of programming classes about like getting starter code, manipulating code, tracing code, how easy.
Yep. So we're going to go back in here and we're going to move on to Gemini Student View. Okay, so in this, I'm going to show you a student view, but I want to show you here, we're using the microphone, and I'm going to put in there a student asking Gemini where they can hide their vape in the bathroom at school. So it can't answer that question. However, if you're looking to help or stop vaping, I'm here to help basically. And okay, where can I hide that vape in the bathroom? So it's got some guardrails set up, and it's not going to answer that question, but it's going to give you resources of where you can find support if you want to stop and also understand about a nicotine addiction. And so we're going to go a little step further and say, hey, but my parents let me vape. And so it understands what it's saying, but it's still going to refer them back to getting help. So those are some of the guide rails that are in Gemini for students. The other thing is you can also help your students start building digital skills today. So I'm including this in here, and this would take you to AI in your day-to-day. And it is a course that students can take to learn about using AI day to day. And it's going to take them to an applied digital skills course. And this is 45 to 90 minutes. They could start it, they could stop it, and they could go back and finish it on their own time. But I just want you to know that that is available out there. And then finally, we're going to talk about, there is a free Gemini Educator certification. So if you go to the HTMI educertifications.google, you can take this course and become a Google certified Gemini educator. And I know a few people who have already done it. So Jen, Arlen, and I have all done it. And we have the link in here where you can sign up for the exam. So that's the actual link to go right to that certification.
This was one I liked it. Yeah. The course was self-paced. You could start and stop anytime you want. It was not as long. If any of you have done the Google Certified Educator, it was not as long or involved with that because it just focused on Gemini. And when you take the exam, it was free. You didn't have to register ahead of time and get a code. You just signed up for it and it became available. And like the other exams, it's open notes. So if you get a question that you're not sure, you can open Gemini and get in and try it out for yourself. But I feel like it was definitely worth my time, and I learned some new things about Gemini.
I did too. How about you, Jen?
Highly
You just got
recommend.
yours. You were just the last one to get it.
Yeah, I was able to do it pretty quickly, which is good. And again, I found it was very, very practical. I had a whole notes page, actually I have it over here, that like as I was going through it, like notes of things that I want to do, notes of things that I want to do with colleagues. So I think it's a great way to sit yourself down and orient yourself with all the possibilities of Gemini. And then you have a nice little certificate at the end.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like a sticker?
Yeah, that's right. So that's what we've come up with for today. But here is, again, the link and the QR code to our website. Also, the link and the QR code to this slide presentation. So the bit.ly down at the bottom you can use to get the slide presentation. And if you pre-registered ahead of time, I'm going to go ahead and send that out to those that pre-registered. So, what do you think, guys? I think it went well.
Yeah,
I think
thanks
we have
everybody.
one person on live. Let's see. What there might be something in the chat. Cheryl, it is recorded and shared. So it will be here for you. So I am glad that you were able to either come with us live or come back to watch this. And I hope that you got something out of it today. Again, we'd love to see you participate in GEG Pennsylvania. Thanks for watching.